Welcome back to Coin Price, where your pocket change might just be a jackpot waiting to happen. Today, we're diving deep into 6 ultra-rare Monticello Jefferson nickels. Yes, those nickels sitting quietly in jars, drawers, and old wallets. That could be worth a fortune beyond belief. These aren't your ordinary coins. They've shocked collectors, stunned auctioneers, and left everyday folk speechless when they discovered what they had. So before you reach for that coffee can full of change, you might want to stick around. You could be holding onto a coin worth $75,000, $150,000, or even $500,000. Some of these nickels come with mysterious mint errors. Others have stories stretching back to wartime America, and a few, they're just plain rare. You won't want to miss a single coin on this list. Trust me, the last one might just blow your mind. Our first coin might look worn out, scratched up, and downright forgotten. But don't be fooled. This humble little nickel has a story to tell, and the kind of value that could jolt your heart faster than a strong cup of coffee. It's the 1943 Jefferson nickel. And if you're lucky enough to find one, especially with the hidden wartime twist, you just might be staring at a small fortune. At first glance, it may seem like any other old nickel from Grandma's change bowl. The coin, in bad condition, like the one we're showing here, has clearly seen decades of pockets, glove boxes, and washing machines. The luster is gone, and the details are faded. But here's the shocker. Even in this shape, collectors are still willing to fork out up to $2,000 just for the war silver content and mint mark combination. Now, let's talk history, because this isn't just any year. 1943 was the heart of World War II. To save nickel for the war effort, the U.S. Mint changed the formula and struck these coins using a silver alloy, 35% silver, to be exact. And that made them the only Jefferson nickels ever made with silver. That alone boosts value. But here's where it gets even crazier. If your 1943 nickel has a bold S mint mark just above Monticello, and more importantly, if it shows signs of being struck on the wrong planchet or with doubled features, you could be sitting on a wartime error coin worth up to $95,000. Yes, you heard that right. A nickel that was struck in a rush during the war, with flaws that only a few eagle-eyed collectors have ever spotted. Imagine this: an uncirculated, sharply struck 1943 war nickel with a full step detail and a double die reverse just sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $185,000. That's not a typo. And even lower grade error coins, like off-center strikes or silver planchet issues, have sold for $10,000 to $25,000 depending on condition. Now here's how you can tell if you have a valuable one. Look closely at the reverse side. Is the Monticello wording clear, even if worn? Can you make out full steps? Is the S mint mark clear and bold above the dome? And here's the real test: flip it under a magnifier and look for doubling on the windows, pillars, or even the word 5 cents. That could signal a double die reverse, one of the rarest and most desirable errors in Jefferson nickel history. Collectors go absolutely wild for these coins because they're not only rare, they're part of American wartime history. And coins like this, especially with any minting mistake, have a powerful emotional value that drives the price higher than logic would ever suggest. Even in rough condition, like the one you're seeing now, the silver content and rarity alone make it valuable. But if you've got one in a dusty old roll that hasn't been picked through in decades, that's where fortunes are found. So before you toss that old beat-up nickel in the junk pile, pause. Take a good look. It might just be the ticket to a 5-figure payday, or more. Moving on to the next incredible find. A coin that many Americans have seen, but only a few truly understand. This one doesn't shine. It doesn't glitter. In fact, it might even look ruined, darkened, stained, almost black with time. But hold it up to the light just right, and you might be staring at a national treasure. This is the 1942 Jefferson nickel, and if yours has that unusual black tone surface like the one we're showing here, you may be holding onto a hidden relic worth far more than you'd ever expect. Now here's the catch: 1942 was a turning point. That year, the U.S. Mint made 2 versions of nickels, standard copper nickel versions early in the year, And then, starting in October, the wartime silver alloy nickels made of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese to save precious nickel for the war effort. The P mint mark above Monticello was used for the first time ever in 1942. That alone makes it stand out. But the black shade? That often happens from decades of oxidation on the silver surface. A natural sign of age, and one that sometimes sends collectors into a bidding frenzy. Because coins with deep, rich patina and full details beneath can fetch serious cash. If your 1942P looks like this dark, aged, but still detailed, the first thing to do is check the Monticello building. If you can still make out strong lines, columns, or parts of the full steps, then your coin just went from junk drawer to jackpot potential. Now listen to this. Back in 2022, a stunning example of 1942P silver war nickel graded with full steps sold for an unbelievable $275,000 at auction. That coin looked almost brand new. But here's the twist. Even darker, lower grade coins with rare errors like off-center strikes, double dies, or clipped planchets have shocked the market with prices ranging from $6,000 to over $40,000. Depending on the rarity of the flaw, collectors are especially drawn to coins that tell a story. And this blackened tone is proof of history, not damage. It tells us this nickel lived through war, time, and change, yet it survived. So, how do you know if yours is special? Start by flipping it over and finding that bold P above Monticello. That mint mark only appeared on silver wartime nickels, and it means you've got one of the most collectible varieties. Next, look for any doubling on the date, letters, or Monticello steps. Even a faint double die can spike the value sky high. And here's something most people don't realize. The government melted down tons of these coins after the war. That means there are far fewer in existence than people think. So every surviving one, especially those with toning and rare strikes, becomes more precious every year. Even in this black-toned, heavily circulated condition, your 1942P could be worth $500 to $2,000, depending on the details. But add in even a small error or strong step detail, and the price jumps to $12,000, $25,000, even more. I'll think about that. A dark, dull coin that most folks would toss aside could be worth more than your living room furniture. That's the magic of coins like this. They hide in plain sight, and the people who know what to look for, they're the ones walking away with five-figure payouts. If you've got one of these wartime nickels, especially in black or silver-toned condition, don't clean it. Don't toss it, get it checked. It could be one of the most valuable items you own. Next up is a coin that marks the final breath of a wartime legacy. It's not flashy, it doesn't sparkle, but if you understand its background and look closely at the details, you might just be staring at the last soldier standing from one of the most historic coin eras in American history. We're talking about the 1945 Jefferson nickel, the last of the Silver War nickels, struck during the final year of World War II. And what might surprise you, one of these, in fine condition like the coin we're showing now, recently made headlines when a rare variety sold for a life-changing $445,000. Yes, a 5-cent piece. Let that sink in. Now here's what makes the 1945 so special. From 1942 to 1945, the U.S. Mint produced Jefferson nickels using a special wartime alloy, 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. That combination was never used before or after, and it makes these nickels truly unique. And in 1945, with the war nearing its end, the San Francisco Mint struck the final batch of this historic series, making this coin the last of its kind. The coin you're seeing here is in fine condition, worn slightly, but the core features are still visible. Jefferson's profile is still sharp. In God We Trust, readable, and Monticello's outline stands proud on the reverse. But here's the kicker. Some 1945 nickels carry jaw-dropping minting errors. We're talking double die obverses, off-metal strikes, clipped planchets, and most rare of all, full steps on the reverse with off-center alignment. If you find one with a strong strike and full steps, those small, delicate lines on the Monticello building, you could be looking at a $25,000 to $60,000 coin even without an error. Now, if it does have a mint error on top of those full steps, that's where we cross into six-figure territory. In 2020, a collector at auction stunned the room when a near-perfect 1945S with a double die, obverse and full steps sold for over $445,000. Think about that for a second, a coin that most people wouldn't even glance at twice. Nearly $500,000. And the wild part, there are still dozens, maybe hundreds of these coins sitting in private coin jars, drawers, and forgotten rolls. Here's how to spot a valuable 1945S. First, flip it over and look for that large S mint mark hovering above the Monticello dome. That's your sign it was struck at the San Francisco Mint during the war. Next, check the steps. Use a magnifier if you have one. Can you see 5 or 6 clean lines? Even if they're faint, that's promising. Then look closely for doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," or on Jefferson's eye, jawline, or coat. Any signs of repetition or distortion there? That could be a double die, and if it matches known varieties, you've just unlocked a 5-figure treasure. And don't be discouraged by wear or darkening. Even in fine condition, this coin commands respect. Just a few years ago, a modestly worn 1945S with a partial die crack sold for $7,800, and it wasn't even certified. That's the power of wartime rarity. Now imagine how many people have dropped this exact nickel into a vending machine, never knowing what they just spent. But you know now. You know what to look for. And that knowledge alone is worth its weight in silver. So, before you toss aside that 1945 nickel, check it. It could be a silent witness to the end of World War II, and your ticket to a life-changing payday. And just when you thought it couldn't get more shocking, wait until you see coin number 4. It's a Jefferson nickel so rare most collectors go their entire lives without ever seeing one in person. In fact, fewer than 2 dozen are known to exist. And the last time one showed up at auction, it sold for more than $500,000. Now, let's shift to a coin that looks simple, but carries an explosive secret. The 1943P Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it seems like another worn nickel struck in silver, sure, but not exactly rare, right? Wrong. This coin, especially in fine condition like the one we're showing now, could hold one of the most valuable minting mistakes ever caught by collectors. Let me explain why. 1943 was the second year America was in full wartime minting mode. And with nickel in high demand for military use, the U.S. Mint switched to a 35% silver alloy, making these worn nickels instantly unique. But the Philadelphia Mint didn't just strike millions of worn nickels, they accidentally created one of the most valuable varieties in Jefferson nickel history, the now famous 1943P double die obverse. And if you're holding a 1943P that shows any signs of doubling on Jefferson's eye, the inscriptions like Liberty or the date itself, then stop what you're doing, because that nickel could be worth over $350,000. You heard that right. One coin, one tiny mistake, over $300,000. The 1943P double die is dramatic, not subtle like others. In the best examples, you'll see Jefferson's eye literally doubled, and the word, "In God We Trust," looks shadowed, almost ghost-like, as if it were printed twice. And here's the kicker: most people don't know it exists. There are only a handful of confirmed examples, and even coins in fine condition with moderate wear, but still visible doubling, have stunned auction houses by selling for $85,000 to $160,000, and in perfect condition, one sold for $375,000 in 2019. And rumor has it another, even stronger strike may be sitting in a private collection, possibly worth $500,000. Now, let's talk about your 1943P. If it has that large P mint mark above Monticello, you know it's a wartime silver issue. That already gives it a boost. But now, at the front, use a magnifier. Zoom in on Jefferson's eye, his jawline, and the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. Do you see shadows? Doubling? That might just be the real deal. And even if you don't spot doubling, don't worry. A 1943p with a die break, a clipped planchet, or struck slightly off-center could still bring in $3,000 to $12,000, depending on severity. And here's something few people know: many of these war nickels, especially from 1943, were tossed into war bond drives, melted down, or simply lost in circulation. That means nice condition examples today are rarer than the mintage numbers suggest. Even a solid, fine condition coin, with some visible Monticello steps, full rims, and light wear on Jefferson's cheek, can sell for $600 to $2,400, even without an error, purely because of its silver content, historical significance, and collector demand. Now imagine this. You find one in your change jar. You check it with a loupe. There's Jefferson, and something looks off. You compare it to a regular 1943 nickel, and the doubling is there. You just spotted a $100,000 plus coin without ever leaving your house. That's the thrill of this hobby. This isn't just pocket change. This is history, printed in silver and wrapped in mystery. And as we move toward coin number 5, I have to warn you, it's unlike any Jefferson nickel you've seen before. It was struck in a way that was never meant to happen. And when one showed up at auction in 2021, it sent shockwaves through the coin world, because the bidding started at 6 figures. This coin is another wartime silver issue, but 1944 holds one of the most legendary Jefferson nickel minting errors ever discovered. Even in fine condition, this coin could hide a 6-figure secret, especially if struck on the wrong planchet. Let's build on the suspense and energy with this next jaw-dropping chapter. Full storytelling mode, same emotional tone, same wow factor. Now hold on tight, because coin number 5 might just be the biggest twist yet. You're looking at a 1944p Jefferson nickel in fine condition. A simple looking coin at first glance, right? But what if I told you that this exact year and mint produced one of the most valuable mint errors in all of American coinage? One that shocked experts, stunned collectors, and sold for so much, people thought it was a joke. Until the final hammer came down. Let's dig in. Like the others in this incredible wartime series, the 1944p nickel was struck with 35% silver, as the U.S. Mint continued to preserve nickel for tanks, armor, and military needs. The Philadelphia Mint placed a large P mint mark above the Monticello Dome, and just like that, this ordinary coin became part of wartime history. The coin we're looking at here is in fine condition, a little worn, yes, but with strong features still showing. You can make out Jefferson's profile, the letters are readable, and Monticello's outline still stands proud. But here's the shocker. In 2008, a collector discovered something no one expected: a 1944p Jefferson nickel that had been struck on a 1-cent planchet. That's right, a Lincoln penny blank. It was smaller, reddish, and completely out of place. And when it went to auction, it sold for $138,000. Yes, a 5-cent coin, worth more than a Porsche. Why? Because of the mistake. Someone at the Philadelphia Mint accidentally fed a 3.11 gram copper planchet meant for a penny into the nickel dies. The result? A nickel design struck on a 1-cent planchet, an error that should never have happened, yet somehow escaped into circulation. And here's what should get your heart racing: more of these are believed to exist. Collectors and graders believe there are at least a dozen 1944p Jefferson nickels struck on the wrong planchet types, not just pennies, but even foreign coin blanks intended for allied countries during the war. Some weigh less than usual, others appear off-color black, red, even golden. And if you're holding one of these mismatched wonders, the bidding starts high and only goes up, even without an error. A standard 1944p silver nickel in fine condition is still highly collectible. You could sell one today for $300 to $1,000, depending on eye appeal, detail, and silver tone. But if yours has any of the following, you might want to sit down: wrong planchet color, reddish, gold, or unusually light struck off center, clipped edge, doubling on Monticello, or the words E pluribus unum, or weighs less than 5 grams. because that's where values skyrocket from hundreds into tens of thousands, and just a few years ago, another 1944p error coin struck on a blank, meant for a 2-franc coin, stunned collectors when it fetched over $180,000. This coin was thin, oddly shaped, but still showed Jefferson's face, and Monticello's outline wrapped around the wrong-sized rim. It was a mistake from the chaos of war, and it became a golden ticket. So, what about the coin in your hand? Does it look just a little strange? A little lighter? A different color than other nickels? If so, stop everything, because you could be holding one of the rarest, most valuable errors in U.S. coin history. It's always the quiet ones, the humble, forgotten coins. That's where fortune hides, and we've still got one more to go. Coin number 6 is the holy grail of Monticello nickels, the one almost no collector has ever touched. Some say it shouldn't even exist, but when one appeared in a hidden hoard just a few years ago, it changed everything. Make sure you're subscribed, because what you're about to see next might be the most shocking coin of them all. And now, we've reached the final coin in this journey, and trust me, you don't want to blink, because this one, well, it's the kind of coin that gets lost in the shuffle, tossed aside, ignored. It might be dull, faded, scarred from years of wear, but that's where the magic hides. This is the 1942 U.S. Jefferson nickel, and if you think its worn appearance means it's worthless, you couldn't be more wrong. In fact, the right version of this coin once shattered auction expectations with a value that reached deep into 6 figures. Let me explain. 1942 was a major transition year. Early in the year, nickels were made from the standard copper-nickel composition, but by mid-1942, the U.S. Mint switched to the wartime silver alloy 35% silver to save nickel for military use. The San Francisco Mint marked this switch with a bold S mint mark directly above Monticello. But while most people think of this as just another war nickel, serious collectors know it's far more than that, because among the millions minted, a few slipped through with mistakes, shocking mistakes. Some were struck on leftover copper-nickel planchets from the early part of the year. Others, the truly rare ones, were struck with doubled dies, off-center strikes, or on completely incorrect foreign coin planchets. These weren't small errors. They were full-blown anomalies, and collectors have been hunting them ever since. One such coin, badly worn, but verified to have been struck on a 98% copper 1-cent blank, sold privately for over $125,000. Why? Because it was never supposed to exist. It shouldn't have made it out of the mint, and the fact that it circulated for decades without being caught made it legendary. Even more incredible, another 1942 U.S. war nickel was discovered to have a rare reverse die clash showing traces of Jefferson's head mirrored on the reverse, in terrible condition, and yet, it still sold for more than $35,000. That's the lesson here. With coins like the 1942S, it's not about shine or luster. It's about story, history, mystery, and rarity. Even this coin, in no fine condition, worn nearly flat, barely holding onto its original details, could hold shocking value if it was part of one of those rare minting mistakes. So how can you tell? Look closely. First, check the mint mark. A true 1942S war nickel will have that large S floating above Monticello. That's the wartime indicator. If it's there, you've got the silver alloy version. Now check the weight. If it's lighter than 5 grams, or if the color seems off, redder or yellower than normal, it might be struck on the wrong planchet. Even a heavily worn one. Check for doubling, clash marks, or off-center details. Because here's the truth, collectors aren't just chasing mint state coins anymore. They're chasing stories. And worn or not, if your coin tells one of those stories, it could be worth more than your car, your vacation, maybe even your house. This is the thrill of coin collecting. It's not about the obvious. It's about the overlooked. The coins that seem too plain to be special until you learn what to look for. And the 1942S? It's the perfect reminder that even the most ordinary-looking piece of metal can be hiding a fortune. So before you dump out that old coffee can of change and pass over that rough old nickel, pause. because it might be one of the rarest surviving war nickels in the world. That's the end of our list: 6 unassuming Jefferson nickels that could be worth 5 figures, 6 figures, or even more. If you've been watching this thinking, I might have one of those, then it's time to check your collection.